And today we're going to talk about the top reasons why agents go broke in this business. We're going to get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
All right, episode 110 today, we are going to be talking about why agents are going broke in this business. Before we get started, we got to give an acknowledgement and thank you to our sponsors. Justin Nelson over at Sphere Rocket VA. If you're looking to leverage out your business and you're wanting to really up your game and scale, right? Talk with Justin. Go over and talk with him on how you can hire a virtual assistant. Average cost is in between $3 to $5 an hour. I think you can afford that. So go to Justin. Talk with Justin Nelson over at SphereRocketVA.com. As well as if you are in Texas, if you're a real estate agent in Texas, or if you have clients relocating here to the Dallas or the Texas area, connect with Michael DeBacker, Mortgage Mike. He's an amazing lender. So go to mortgagemikeoftexas.com, connect with him, tell him that the guys over at the only real estate podcast worth listening to sent you. And so, and if you haven't left us a 5-star review yet on iTunes, go do that right now, because I know you're not doing it, because I look at it every single day.
Every day,
and it's not going up, because that means you're not going there and leaving us reviews.
Turn this podcast right around. If you guys don't start leaving.
But it is stuck on 69. So 69 reviews. So either way, we're winning.
Right. Well, hey, that's cool. Leave it there.
Yeah. So we are Sans Kelderman today.
I should have sat on that side of the table. It feels so weird that I'm still sitting.
Now I have to talk to you like this.
Yeah, we could have just sat across from each other. That's dumb. Whatever.
But we have Jesse.
Yeah.
What's up?
Jesse needs his own camera all the time. I don't know why he doesn't have one.
We've got Jesse joining us.
See me behind the scenes.
That's right. So, and if you haven't been to our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of, go request access into that. We're really starting to see some. There's been a lot of growth in there this past 30 days. A lot of new agents joining us, asking questions. I asked one yesterday: Are you starting to feel that real estate shift? Right? Are you starting to feel that there's some buyer fatigue going on, or maybe some pricing resistance, right? And there was a lot of comments on that one.
There was. I like Facebook arguments when they're not mean; they're just spirited debates, and that was kind of fun to follow the comments, because there's a lot of hefty opinions in there.
There was one in there that I really was debating whether I'm going to bring this one up. Right. And I was on my personal page. I made a personal goal with myself to go live every single day to interview an agent. And on Monday, I was going to interview an agent from another brokerage, a young kid, right, a 23-year-old who had sold 22 houses in his first year. Unfortunately, it seems like that the management team with that brokerage got to that person before, kind of got in his ear. And on behalf of that agent, respectfully declined the interview on Monday morning.
They straight up texted you on his behalf that he wasn't going to do it.
Correct.
It was very petty.
I had asked in the Facebook group, I said, hey guys, I'm interviewing this agent. He sold 22 deals at 23 years old in his first 12 months. What kind of questions should I ask him? What would you like to know how he's built his business? And I think one person was in there was like, why is he interviewing you? He should be, he should be interviewing you. Why are you interviewing him? Like kind of just a dick comment.
It's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, bro. Like that you're not really. It's not really fruitful to the host. So I mean, if Kelderman was here, we would have him kind of start some shit in there. So
he's always good for good riling people up.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the top reasons why, Brian and I run a decently large size real estate team. Mm-hmm. These are our opinions, though most of them come from facts.
Yeah, I would like to think all my opinions comes from facts. I just don't know if they're the right facts.
Right. That these are the reasons why we're seeing real estate agents not make enough money in the industry. Right. And, I left 2 recruiting appointments today who are looking at joining the team. Mm-hmm. And I always ask them, why did you get into real estate? What do you think their number one answer is?
You can make as much money as you want.
Number one. What's their number two answer?
To set your own hours and
Set your own
have time
hours.
flexibility and freedom and stuff.
Yeah. And the third one, be your own boss.
Be your own boss. Man, the
Dumbest
mythology around. Yeah.
Dumbest answer in existence.
Yeah.
I want to be my own boss.
Right. Comment, if you're watching this live or watching the replay on this, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, comment down below why you got it. Is more than likely it's one of those three, right? Just comment down below. I'm sure if Aaron's watching this, Aaron Foster, I'm sure he's got he probably joined for a different reason. But comment down below on that. And then how much money does an agent want to make?
$100,000.
Yeah.
$100K.
$100,000.
That,
Doesn't matter how much inflation goes up.
That's exactly.
It's always gonna be
No matter if
$100,000.
100,000 could be $10,000, but they still want
They
to make
still
that
want to
up.
make six figures,
Yes.
man. It looks good on a 1099.
Yes,
Yes.
and so those are the top three reasons why people got into real estate. And their number one answer of how much money they want to make is $100,000. And
Yeah.
so, when asking these questions, where we're seeing agents go broke is they're not number one, I would say is they're not treating this as a business.
With that, I think that transcends so many different levels and layers to this conversation. I love talking about the money side of things because it always comes back to our favorite topic, which is also mindset. But that's got to be number one, right? Is that to be more specific, they don't treat it like a business. I say when it comes to the financial side of things, to be more specific, they think that their income is all theirs. Like when they go to closing and get a paycheck, they're like, I now have $9,000, and they treat it as such, which is literally the worst thing you could do with your money. Like, aside from throwing it in a trash can or burning the check, living off of all of it is the worst thing that you could do.
Well, and that's assuming they actually make a commission check, right? That's where you've actually put them ahead of the game immediately.
Okay, so that's fair.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about number one. They get in this business from day one, and
Oh, wow.
and Century Todd.
I like it.
Yeah. So from day one, they get in this business and they probably show up to training.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
They got to get their business card looking right, even though I don't know who passes out business cards anymore, but that's a different
I don't
story.
know where my business cards are.
No, and then they're sitting into the new agent orientation,
Mhm.
and they got their notepad out. They got their brand new pen, right? And they're taking the notes of how to get their website set up, but not how to go get clients.
Not how to go get clients. And why is how to generate business like the sixth thing that we do in real estate even after setting up our Facebook business page? Like, I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. And so take this as hopefully helpfully critical. No one gives a shit about your Facebook business page. So if you spent any time putting that together, like more than a few minutes, that's time you won't get back. I'm so sorry that you wasted your time. No one cares.
We have maybe 4,000 people on the business page.
Yeah.
We're not getting business from that.
Not from the business.
Not even,
page,
no.
You could leverage that into like a custom audience, do something else with or
yes,
whatever. But that's a little bit
that's a
more of
whole-
a complicated
Yeah.
situation. But it is the overall premise. If we're going to talk about like top reasons why real estate agents go broke, focusing on the wrong things in the beginning is probably number one, right? You are in the business. I was talking to one of our amazing new business partners today. You're in the business of building relationships. And if you think that getting your logo and your business card perfect are going to help you build relationships, like, again, kind of comes back to mindset. Your mindset's already off. Your number one goal should be to build or create new relationships and build on your existing relationships, especially in 2021. Like, this is what I was telling one of our like I said, talking to one of our business partners today. You don't really need to try that hard to tell people you're in real estate anymore. Like, everyone stalks everyone. Everyone pretty much knows what's going on with everyone. If you're even mildly vocal on social media, people already know what you're doing. We are literally in the making friends business.
Yeah.
It's all we're in.
But that comes down to, so I interviewed, Nate Fisher was on the show, right? And I interviewed him again because I had this kind of personal competition in my head of doing Facebook Lives every single day. I just want to see what the traction and trend goes. But I interviewed Nate today, and I asked him. It's not supposed to be shitting on Century 21, by the way. He was a Century 21 agent for 8 months. I think he sold 2 houses. So not really going after them on purpose. But
Happens to be what we're talking about.
Yes,
today.
just so happens that there's a little trend. There's a little something going on with that, But I asked him. I said, "Why do you think you didn't have success when you first started out?" And when I asked him what his day-to-day activities looked like and what he was doing, he was putting 10 hours a week in, right?
Really?
Yes. In the very beginning, not with us, at Century 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was only putting 10 hours a week in. And this is not to shit on Nate. This is where most agents, again, they get in it from that time freedom and they take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're used to probably having a boss. They're used to probably, these mandatory W-2 salaried hours,
Yes.
8 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever that may be. And so you kind of break free from that. And that it was almost like COVID last year. Jesse, you would probably be able to relate this. This was like COVID last year when your kids were on spring break and then COVID hit. Even though they went back to schoolish, spring break never ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. and so it's the same way where agents get in and they're like, oh, I get the time freedom. Like,
Yeah.
I really like to sleep until 9. So I'm going to sleep until 9. I'm going to wake up, have a cup of coffee. Then I'll start getting to work. And then, then it's almost lunchtime. So I have to go eat.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you go to lunch. You're like, I'll make calls after that. Maybe you meet up with a friend or a lender who's promising you to buy you free food. So
Yeah.
and then you have a couple of drinks, and then you're drunk or buzzed. By 3 p.m., you go home and take a nap. And then that day's shot.
Yeah.
Right?
That's you literally couldn't put it more perfect than how most people approach a new career in real estate.
Well, you think about where do they come from? So they come from elementary school, middle school, high school, college. You get a little bit more freedom, but all the way through there, they're being told what to do. Then all of a sudden, you get to college, you get a little more freedom, and then you get to a sit down desk job, and your boss tells you what to do, and then all of a sudden, here you are, you're your own boss.
Yeah.
And guess what? You work 10-hour weeks.
Right. Turns out you're not your best boss when you're your own boss. Like
True.
you're usually not the boss you need.
Yeah. And so that's number one is the hours. They're not putting in, they're putting in what we always talk about. They're putting in part-time hours to try to make full-time income.
I think if I could go back in time, that would be the one thing that I did even more differently was just treated it like I didn't have that affliction in the beginning, meaning like I worked more than 10 hours in the beginning for sure. I still didn't treat it like a business though. And that's sort of the overall kind of thing that we're talking about here is I think the number one first reason that real estate agents go broke is they don't ever treat their business like a business. And it starts with acting like it's a business all day, every day from day one, right? Like if you have, imagine any other business on earth that they're just like, we're only open for 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Those were COVID hours.
You imagine an ice cream shop that's like, we just like 2 to 4 every day. That's it.
How frustrated were you?
Ridiculous.
How frustrated were you going to, I remember going, during COVID that you'd go to Walmart, Nebraska Furniture Mart, and then all of a sudden they close at 6. And it's like,
How pissed were you?
I'm like, dude, I just got here. Right? It's like, it's that same thing.
Mine was the opposite because I'm an early riser. It was when I tried to go to Walmart at like 6:30 in the morning and it was only open to people like 80 and over or something or whatever it was. And I was like, you old motherfucker. I need to get in there, bro.
This is the only time you wish you were
I was wearing a fake wig and beard like Kyrie Irving in that basketball movie.
That's right.
So again, that's number one is they're not putting the hours in. What would you say the second part is? Is it not, if you are putting the hours in, are you using those hours correctly? So is it actually doing dollar productive activities?
It has to be, right? The reality, I had this conversation so much. We both do because obviously we're in leadership. I made calls with the team last night for the first time in a long time. We did a call night and I had so much fun. Oh, I had so much fun. I had to say it again. I had so much fun. I miss that stuff, right? And what was really apparent, it was super fun to just have those call and expireds and all this type of stuff. And it was fun because I just had fun with it. And the team got a lot out of it because I'm really good on the phones. That's how I made a living for a very long time. And that's really like riding a bike. You just feel good about it. You get into the groove. And we're having conversations, of some coaching moments that came up, and how do you approach this? How do you approach that? How do you handle that? Like, how do you just know how to handle objections as well as you do? And I'm like, guys, if you got to understand what this is like from my perspective. Like, I have a whole bunch of people now asking me, like, how do you handle objections like that? How did you get so good on the phones? But they hadn't seen what it was like when I was so terrified that anyone would even answer the phone. Like, my perfect day of lead generation when I first started was I would go door knock 50 doors. No one would answer because I was so terrified that they would and actually ask me questions, right? And I'd have to answer them, but I felt good about my door knocking. I got something in, right? And then I would turn on Mojo for 2 or 3 hours and no one would answer, but I'd get 500 dials in, you know what I mean? I was so terrified. And like that, my mother will tell you to this day, like, I don't like to talk to adults. She used to have to order pizza for me until I was like 30 years old. Like, I just don't like, I don't know. For the longest time, I didn't. I had to learn that. That was all learned characteristic, and so that's
and here's the thing. The only way you learn it is by doing the repetition.
That's exactly where I was going with that, is nobody can teach you that stuff unless you're willing to put in the work. Like, there's no amount of training. I compare, obviously, again, I know I do this all the time, but I compare everything to boxing, right? You can train to be a boxer for as long as you want until you stand in there with another human being who is legitimately trying to murder you. It doesn't matter, right? It's the experience, And I know a lot of people that never really train that hard, but they just spar all the time because they're maniacs and they like to fight, and they're pretty good fighters, because they're so used to it. It's the same with lead generation. If you don't have a mindset that you're going to be bad at it at first, and you can train, and you should do script practice. You should do all that stuff, and don't expect that to be a corner cut for just legitimate raw repetitions, because that is always necessary.
Well, and actually I said that on the recruiting appointments today, where, we still are very, that's going up my leg. What is that?
Your foot was on my headphone cord.
Hold on, it still is. Hold on.
Almost pulled my head into the table.
Technical difficulties.
But that's on the recruiting appointments today. By the way, 5-star review on iTunes only, please.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Is that, one, most people reject themselves before they get rejected by others. So they're like, I'm not going to make the call because I'm not going to be good at it. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. If they come to this, like, what do I say then? And so I was always like, why you're rejecting yourselves? That makes no sense.
I thought about it that way. You're not even making the call or trying to set the appointment because you're afraid that they won't want to set the appointment. So you're like, I say this all the time, you're throwing yourself out of a moving car because you're afraid the car's going to crash.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so the only way, and I hate to use this. You talked about boxing. I hate to use the analogy of Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the nose,
perfect way to put it,
or whatever, right? We can't even script practice all the way because once you get on the phones, it's never going to go the way script practice is going. Script practice is only designed for you just to get comfortable enough with using the certain verbiage that is there, so that when you you actually do the live fire calls,
yes,
right? That you have some type of muscle memory there that if it goes this direction, I need to say hopefully somewhere like this. And I will tell you that, a little bit of a training tip, right? When Michael Reese is doing his training events, he calls it he makes people yell pro tip, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's like pro tip, and they have to repeat it back like pro tip, right? And then he'll go into his tip. But I always talk about that people don't care what you're saying on the phone, by the way. I'm going to tell you something right now. What we use sometimes in our scripting, just to break up the monotony, just to prove a point that people aren't listening and that you can still set the appointment and sound ridiculous. So as we're having a conversation, Brian, I'll be like, are you feeling what I'm putting in you?
This is a Super Troopers bit.
Are you feeling what I'm putting in you?
This is saying meow on Super Troopers.
Yes.
This is awesome.
100% of the time, this is not a made up stat because we've tracked it.
Undefeated.
100% of the time, everyone says yes.
That's so funny.
And it is designed purposely to show you, to give you that understanding that they're not listening all the way. So you can sound like shit and still set the appointment. You can sound like shit and still do the follow-up call. Right?
Yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah. And even if you did sound crazy and the person called you out on it, like, then what? You hang up? You know what I mean? That's what the best thing about lead generation is. It always ends when you want it to end. Like,
correct. Yes. So again, it's number one is they're not putting in the hours.
Right.
Right. Number two, they're not doing the right dollar productive activities, right? Which is the right lead generation.
Yeah. And this isn't, we use prospecting as an example because it's the easiest example to use, but like, I understand it's 2021, right? Prospecting isn't the only form of lead generation, but whatever it is, if you're not expanding your comfort zone, then you're not lead generating. I personally think, right? Like whether it's content creation, whether it's face-to-face stuff, whether it's B2B stuff, whatever, like your lead generation should involve you growing, and growing is uncomfortable. I always do this in our live events. I talk about a real estate business is the easiest business to map out. You just put A, B, C, and A's are people that would bail you out of jail. B's are people that it wouldn't be weird to have lunch with. So like your B people are probably not going to be the first call from jail, but if you invited them to lunch, that wouldn't be weird. And then C is everybody else who knows your name. If I said your name, they would know who I was talking about. And then I just draw an arrow to the C's and I say a real estate business is just adding more of these, and then draw an arrow from the C to B, and then turning them from this to this, and turning them from this to this, right? That's all a real estate business.
You're gamifying it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all that a real estate business really is. So whether it's prospecting or whatever form of lead generation it is, that's all you're trying to accomplish. And we don't approach life that way, and that's why it's usually uncomfortable. Like the relationships we build in our lives are more out of proximity and happenstance, right? We're born in a certain area, so we make friends in that area, right? Or we go to a certain school, so we build relationships. We very rarely do we go through life going, I need to make as many friends and meet as many people as possible. That's not how human beings operate. So that's why it's uncomfortable. No matter what avenue you use for lead generation, it should be uncomfortable.
Look, if you're listening to this live or watching the replay, on YouTube or Facebook, leave a comment, tag an agent in this. If you're listening to this on iTunes, leave us a review. Come on, do it, please. Thank you. But so, Michelle Madding says, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's we use that a lot. It's easy to say. It's easier said than done. But you talk about these dollar productive activities. It doesn't have to be, in our worlds, it was calling expireds, right? Call night, what is call night? You're calling people.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have to always be that. It could be, if you set a goal of doing 2 lives a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, where it's over some type of real estate related content. I know agents that run a very successful business and they are a social media butterfly, but in real life, they're introverts.
Yeah, I actually know quite a few.
Yes.
People like
And
that.
so, and you can be purposeful with your content. You can be purposeful with attracting people in, but it's like Michelle said, get comfortable being uncomfortable. They don't want to do the video content because they don't look good in front of the camera. They don't like the way they sound. They don't know what to talk about. They're new in the business. And again, what are you doing? You're rejecting yourselves before other people are rejecting you.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what kind of content create. Like that's one of my favorite kind of obstacles to help try and get out of people's way is like, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, Instagram, IGTV, blah, blah, blah. Like if you're spending if you're spending more time planning out your content creation than creating content, then you're doing it wrong, right? Like it goes back again to repetitions. Whatever you do in the beginning is not going to be the best version of what it is at fruition, right? Everything involves getting started. So like when people they spend so much time trying to plan out what their content's going to be or what their video is going to be or whatever it is, like just start shooting, And I promise you, it's going to be not super good at the beginning. Like I know zero people that are vain enough to be like, shot one video, nailed it, looked amazing, fucking killed it, right? Like every single person doesn't like it at the beginning, right? So like you can't plan your way out of that. So just get started. So just in general, obviously, our top reason that agents go broke is they start with a broke mindset, and the broke mindset is the wrong mindset around lead generation and growing their business. But let's shift to, what about when agents are making money? Why do they go broke? Because I think this is a more interesting conversation too. Is I know a lot of real estate agents that do a lot of business, don't have a ton to show for it.
So that is, there's two directions in that, right? The first one is this is agents in the beginning and agents that are making money. They're not pouring into themselves to be from that, developing their mindset, developing better investment knowledge, developing their knowledge in general. So that's number one, right? So if they're going broke, they're not saving for taxes. That is, I'm going to tell you right now that we could just do that topic all day.
That describes so many real estate agents. And I don't know why people don't do that. I would say I don't know why. I was guilty of that early on in my career, and I also don't know why. I did a lot of stuff I did back then. So we all grow. But I think that is probably one of the, right out of the gate, the biggest things that gets people in binds is going back to, again, like people just live off their entire paychecks, and that starts with not putting money away for taxes, especially if you have a lofty goal of like really making a lot of money in real estate. Turns out they track that stuff, and they will know when you're not paying taxes eventually. So the more money you make, the more trouble you get in when you don't pay your taxes. So start that habit early on, so that when you're making a lot more money later, you're already and you're not like surprised, and you're already in the mindset of paying taxes.
But this then comes into, once you start having that money coming in, reinvesting. We talked about, I think, episode 108, or 110. So 108, where what real estate agents are spending their money on.
Yeah.
Is that now also you're making money. How are you reinvesting in yourself and your business? And then, you unfortunately, that's a good and bad thing, is as you make more money, you have to pay more taxes. Now, there are some ways to negate that.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to learn tax saving strategies. By the way, you start learning that. How much more valuable does that make you to your clients? You're teaching them. I use this. I talk about this.
We're able. This is a Gene Rivers thing. What if you're able to educate every one of your clients on how to save for their kids' college tuition by buying rental properties? How many more deals could you do every year?
What if you set them up even becoming a wealth building advocate? Mm-hmm. That's not always real estate. We talked about the infinite banking concept, which is an insurance policy that you continue to fund, and you can act as your own personal banker. And then you talk about buying a couple rental properties and have the profits from the rental properties pay for the monthly premiums on that. And now that's your zero cost that out. Yep. Now you're gaining wealth, not just from that, but you're also gaining net worth because of the rental properties.
Yeah.
So you start bringing
cool
in, it's great, but you don't know it until you actually learn it. It's confusing, right? So you got to keep listening to it. Then you educate your clients on it. Now you become a valuable resource and asset to those clients.
100%. And I think one of the reasons that people can't see the forest through the trees there, it comes back to when we talk about, why do agents go broke? That's the premise. I don't think it has to do as much with the income as it has to do with the outflows. The reality is one of the main reasons that agents go broke is because they don't understand what their business costs them, and they don't understand what their life costs them, right? Like if you just ask most, I think, real estate agents, like, what is your monthly budget? They probably wouldn't have that. You know what I mean? They probably haven't done that analysis. And
that's not fun.
It's not fun at all. Like seriously, it does suck. And that's not saying like, I'm not Dave Ramsey here. And I'm not saying you got to like do the envelope exercise and all that type of stuff. But I don't always stick to my monthly budget either, but I understand what my life should cost. And I understand when I'm exceeding that, right? I understand when I'm living well outside my means. And it allows me to course correct, just like you, and make
balance.
Check exactly. It allows you to make adjustments along the way, like because what happens when you don't invest your money, then you don't realize the possibilities of living that lifestyle, right? You don't understand the possibilities of really building wealth and how simple. I say simple, not easy, because easy requires, no discipline. It's you have to be disciplined about it, but how simple it is to actually build wealth if you control your lifestyle, your expenses, and all that type of stuff. And the first step in controlling them is even understanding what those need to be, right? At no point in my life, right? And I was guilty of this forever. At no point in my life did I ever just run out of money, right? When I was bartending all the way through college, I found out a way to make my bartending money from all that every night or whatever end up to pay my bills every single month, right? To pay my bills every single month, right? When I started making way more than that in real estate, my money that I made from selling my deals ended up covering my lifestyle every single month for a long time, right? And it turns out after a few years of selling real estate, I had the same amount of money left over as I did when I was bartending when I was 20 years old, right? Because my lifestyle had increased and I had no idea how much my life should actually cost me, right? A lot of people out there, they make $5,000 a month and they live off $5,000 a month. And then they increase that to $17,000 a month. And now they have $17,000 a month to live off. So they eat at nicer restaurants, wear nicer clothes, drive a nicer car, go on more vacations, live in a bigger house, and all of that type of stuff. And then at the end of the day, they're just a person with a high income that really has nothing to show for it. And that life creep is really, 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 I think, the biggest reason that people go broke. And I think the simplest way to put that, to kind of boil it down, is like real estate agents try so hard to be cool and they shouldn't. And I was guilty of it, man. I used to drive that expensive car, wear those expensive suits, do all that type of stuff because I thought that made me look better, be cool, all that type of stuff. Really, the biggest thing in my life that changed a lot of that is, who really wasn't impressed by any of the shit that I was doing back then? Nick and Austin Good. And it really changed my mindset around money. So I say that
I got holes in my jeans right now.
Yeah, bro, I'm wearing, look at us. I love us. If you don't have your lifestyle dialed in, you're never going to be anything but a broke mindset person. And that comes with having the discipline to start slow,
but that's also
sticking a budget and putting money away.
So with that though, like you have to, with the, going from that broke mindset agent, you've got to pour into yourself and continue to study and then implement into your business. Right. Yeah. And something that we have in our mission, visions, values, beliefs, and perspective chart that we have, what we look for is in agents in general, not just for the team, but if you want to make it in the business, being learning-based and coachable.
Yeah.
Right? Learning-based, there's people, how many times have we taught a class that people show up to class? They're there for every single one. Mm-hmm. Their business hasn't gone up. It's gone down.
Sure.
But they probably could recite half the shit you're teaching.
Oh, Kelderman says that all the time in our live classes. He's like, dude, here's my personal cell phone number. Give me a call if you want to talk about your business. And I'm just going to tell you right now, 98% of you probably won't do that.
I have to give a shout out. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I got a call. I got a call from a gentleman yesterday. I posted in the only real estate group worth being a part of, from a Keller Williams agent, Tanner Blankenfield.
Okay.
Right. And so Tanner reached out. He's like, Nick, I just wanted to thank you for posting and asking the question about the real estate market. A lot of times when you ask agents, how's the business going? What is the response? Going fucking great.
Yeah, of course.
Making so much money. Let's go to business. That's how much money I'm making. Right. And that's the thing is like you have these agents that go to these classes, or they're always on some type of certification or always in some type of webinar.
Designation or something.
Yes. And it's like being learning based is great. Being coachable is then implementing and taking action of what you've learned.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the problem that most agents, they feel like they're productive sitting in a classroom environment learning.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Jesse could probably talk about this, coming from the teaching world, right? Most educators in this business probably have that mindset where they need to go learn it first. They have the hesitation, but all they want to do is learn before even taking action. Right.
That's right. Well, and I think that goes to a lot of what we learned too is, you don't really learn from sitting and learning. You learn from actually
doing.
doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, understanding that difference is pretty huge. I don't think everybody gets that, unfortunately.
No, and here's the thing. The more you're learning, the more you feel like you're doing something productive, and then the less scary stuff you have to go do. But I can't remember who said, like, you got to put the book down at some point and go and try to execute on something, right? And I think that goes back again to the general premise is, I think a lot of people, not even real estate, we just talk about people, right? A lot of people never really get ahead financially for two reasons. One, they kind of bury their head in the sand and don't want to learn stuff because it seems hard. Everybody's always kind of working for someday, meaning like, I know I spent a lot of money this month, but next month's going to be different, right? I know that, I made 100,000 this year and spent 97,000 this year, but next year I'm gonna make 200 and still only spend the 97. You know what I mean?
Like, by the way, they act like in their mind they've already made 200,000.
Yeah, everybody's got that someday.
Their cost of living increases at 150,
increasing, yes.
But they only made 50,000.
So everybody's got that someday mentality, and then I think when they start to learn, like let's just say a lot of people they get ahead. Adam Hergenrother said this one time that it really stuck with me. One of the major things that inhibits people from getting ahead financially is a lack of willingness to be anything but liquid. Meaning that once you start making more money than you're spending and you start to see it pile up in your bank account, you want to learn how to invest it, but pulling the trigger for most people is the most difficult thing in the world to do, man. The first time you buy that stock and that stock goes down a little bit, you're freaking out, right? The first time you do a flip and, you find out you got foundation issues you didn't know about, it's the end of the world. You're freaking out. You know what I mean? So like that, I think a lot of people end up just spending money because they actually are afraid of losing it. Again, it goes back to the throwing yourself out of a moving car because you're afraid it's going to crash. I think I would venture to guess that the majority of spending that people do, it doesn't bring them any more happiness. And I think they even intellectually probably know that. They're just so afraid of losing that money by investing it that they would rather just spend it, because at least that's some short-term happiness that they're getting, even if they're not going to remember it 20 minutes from now.
Well, it was having that tangible asset in hand, right?
Yes.
So it's like, you buy that stock that's going down, and then, if it keeps falling, they don't understand that you lose money on those, or you lose money even on a real estate investment when you sell.
Yeah.
If you pull the trigger too soon, if you hold it long enough, typically it comes back up. Typically, right? So, it's they don't want to go through that. That's in their mind, a lot of pain, stress, and the uncertainty is scary. Yeah. So, what's better? Might as well go buy that Xbox One that
100%
that will bring me immediate joy. It's that euphoric joy right then and there.
Yep.
And they're just pushing off the inevitable, which is eventually we all get old.
Yeah.
Eventually we all are going to get sick, or something's going to happen where we're not going to be. It's the professional athlete type syndrome.
Yes.
We just get to experience it longer throughout our career, hopefully.
It's a slower bleed. Yeah.
But I mean, we will all eventually get older where we're not going to be able to make as much money or be as quick or fast, or have people look at us the same way that they do now.
Yep.
Right. And so this is, I mean, I'm 38, you're 36.
I'll be 34 next Thursday. Y'all coming to my birthday?
Hey-o.
Yeah.
I'm coming Wednesday.
You're coming Wednesday to my birthday?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Remember we're doing it early?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We're going to do it early for Nick.
Yeah.
Because he can't come.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
No, because I like to be the first one to celebrate your birthday.
Nick, exactly. First.
Yeah. Even over, Tom and Peggy. I'm like, nope, I'm first. But
yeah, we're all exactly. It's
so it's that we don't see ourselves. The problem is we don't see ourselves like that. In the professional athlete world, they have 3 to 5 years of great income earning potential.
Yeah. And
then it's all downhill from there. Right? For the majority of people, business owners or typical W-2 employees, it's a slow rise up and then a quick fall down because you retire and you probably didn't set yourself up correctly.
Yes.
Because you kept kicking the can down the road.
Yep.
Right? And so just like David Fleming says, it's easy to watch and learn. It's extremely hard to start implementing and failing. Right? So you kick the can down the road, just like it's hard to set up for retirement. It's hard to put money away into a Roth IRA. It's hard to put money into a 401k. It's hard to even put away for your kid's college fund.
It becomes easier when, and this is something that I wish, I think this led to a lot of my financial mistakes when I was younger. And if I can kind of impart any little bit of dumb wisdom into this conversation, it is, I think one of the big reasons that we struggle financially is because we have such a difficult time identifying what really makes us happy in this world. And I never really realized until I grew a beard and got a little bit older.
It's only the beard, man.
Exactly. How critical it is to your financial success to actually have a really, really good handle on where your joy and happiness comes from. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but and then being able to identify how you can recreate that for the long term. What we tend to do when we set our goals is that we set our goals around stuff and around a lot of things that we want to have, right? And I've been guilty of it in the past. My vision board's got Ferraris on it, just like anybody else's, But when you're working for things that are, one, just tangible things, and two, seem very, very far away, what ends up happening, this is real estate 101. You make that business plan in October. You do that vision board. I do my vision boards on New Year's Eve with my wife, and you do that vision board.
Sounds like an exciting New Year's Eve.
Oh, it's a blast. Yeah. We do other stuff anyway. You make that vision board, and then you got all year to go accomplish it, right? Well, what ends up happening? It's this weird irony, right? Because what ends up happening is the second things get hard, and then you don't want to do whatever it is that you need to do that makes you uncomfortable to grow your business. Subconsciously, you start thinking like, bro, I don't really need that Ferrari. Like, I'm fine without the Ferrari that's on my vision board, right? So I'm going to take today off. I've had a hard day, right? It's when you want to sleep in till 9, or you want to not lead generate, or you want to not, right? All the things that are on your vision board, or the things that you say are your goals, it's not really where you derive your happiness from. So it's really, really easy to let those go. And then once you've let them go, what you're actually in turn doing is compromising your ability to fund your life that actually does make you happy. But if you were able to identify what does make you happy and where that happiness is derived from, you'd be a lot more motivated to get uncomfortable to protect that happiness. It's the same example as, if I challenge you to go make $100,000, you might not have the motivation to do it. If someone stole $100,000 from you, you would do anything to get that back. Like you would put a greater effort into doing that than you would to going and making $100,000, because you don't have that $100,000 already. So your motivation to go make it is lower than it is to keep it. Well, if you already have happiness in some form or another, you've already felt happiness, you've already tasted happiness, you already know what a happy life is, you would go a lot farther to protect your own happiness than you would to go buy some Ferrari or some Swiss chalet or something that is on your vision board, because those aren't real things in your life yet and you don't care about them that much. So I would challenge people to really, really start to boil down what it is that you derive your happiness from, right? For me, I care about my wife, a good glass of wine, some grass-fed beef, and whatever. Like, I'm a very simple guy to keep happy, and I'll do anything to protect that,
It's your true motivator of why.
100%.
Right? Which is, and I shared the story with the agents today, is that, my motivator, I thought my motivator of my why in the beginning was to make, I said, private jet money. Mm-hmm. Right. But that's materialistic. That won't, when shit hits the fan, when it gets real tough, that's not motivating you to keep going, to pick yourself back up and to ask for more punishment and to tweak it and be better. Right. And when I really analyze this, I'll just share with you my reasons, my motivation in the very beginning of this business, right, is that growing up, I was an overweight kid. I was the fat kid growing up. When I got hurt playing football, I lost all my friends, and I dropped out of school. I got a GED because of it, right? And from that, when I started my business, I didn't want to be seen as a failure. Yeah. It was the drive to not be rejected as and seen as that failure that kept me going, right? And the money part was just the success from it.
Exactly.
It was, I'm going to prove it wrong. I'm not that. that was if I really broke it down. But when I was sitting in those classes, like, what's your big why? I'm like, I just want to make a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
No, that's not your why. No, it is. It's my why. And then as I analyzed it more and more, I'm like, no, that's not.
Yeah, it can't be
it, because I would not go through the tough part. I would not go through the trouble of learning how to cold call, to how to just get my teeth kicked in, or to go and sacrifice and live on $500 a month when my truck payment was $525.
Yeah,
going in the hole to go build a business.
100%, right? Like, and it's a tough thing to analyze, but I think it's so important, right? Like you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't mean that you stop working hard just when your needs are met, right? Like, what makes me happy is pretty simple in this world. It doesn't mean that I only work just to get that bare minimum of what makes me happy. Like, I say that there's two phases, right? I will do literally anything to protect the lifestyle that I want to live, which is a relatively simple lifestyle. I will do just about anything to be able to continue to do the things that I love. And so, like, in this business, right? Like, I don't work so hard because we make so much money or whatever, right? I work so hard because I really genuinely love what I do. And I want to be the best at it, and I want to beat everyone like you, right? Like, I have an internal motivator.
It's the competition.
That I just I would do this shit for free, bro. I just love what I do, man. I love spending 12 hours a day here. I love what we do. I love the family that we've built. I love all that type of stuff. And if I had to do it just for money and lots of money, I would be super demotivated by that. The money is a side effect of doing something that I really enjoy every single day. But I would do anything to protect, at least be able to live the lifestyle that makes me happy. I wouldn't do anything for Ferraris.
No.
I hope to be able to purchase one someday, but I'm not going to work my ass off just to go get a car. No. Done that before. It was stupid.
I can't get in and out of a Ferrari that well anyway.
That's fair.
So mine's like a Mercedes 6x6, but
oh, nice. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit better than a Ferrari. So costs more.
It does cost more.
Yeah. So look, if these resonate with you, first off, just comment down below. I mean, David's comment, Nate's commented. Thank you for watching so far. Go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, and check out our sponsors. Right, these are people that we use in our business. Justin Nelson over at Sphere Rocket VA. If you're needing a virtual assistant, if you're wanting to help scale your business up, the operations team, a marketing department, maybe even an ISA. Right, go talk with Justin Nelson over at SphereRocketVA.com. Get you hooked up with a virtual assistant for $3 to $5 an hour. You're going to love it. And then go over and talk with Michael DeBacker on the lending side. Look, if you're in Texas, he's a loan officer here in Texas. He can help you out. Makes you look amazing in front of your clients. I'm going to tell you, we get referrals back because of how well Michael DeBacker over Mortgage Mike.
Now, I just read an email from him recently. He saw an issue that might be a potential issue with the deal. He told us about it way before it became a real issue. Now we're solving, and it's done.
MortgageMikeOfTexas.com. So connect with Michael DeBacker, and we don't have anybody to text out, so we're going to have to keep the show going.
I know. No, we just sit here all day until Kelderman gets back.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give it my best shot. Jesse, take us out.
He wasn't ready.
Still not ready.
Still wasn't ready.
There it is. See, he wasn't ready. Look.
Sorry.
All right, try it again. Ready?
Jesse, take us out.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Checking out another episode of the Only Real Estate Podcast Worth Listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook, like everyone else is, go over and search the Only Real Estate Group Worth Being a Part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review, please. Go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.